Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back with you here. Second Monday in a row after the Survivor season. We're back with more Club Condo. And today we are hearing Chappell's list of Survivor 50 snubs. The man here who understood the assignment here today. It's Chappell. Chappell, how are you?
Rob, I'm good. This is Survivor 50 in the hands of Chappell, okay? And that's how I'm tackling this. I took this very seriously, okay? I literally, I looked at the list and I thought, Chappell, you could just pick your faves, but you need to dive in, do some research, and figure out, okay, what could, put your mind in the mind of the casting people and the production people and, how they landed on what they got, and then what we can do to tweak it to make the snubs make sense. Because there's a lot of snubs. 700 some odd people, there's a ton of snubs. But what can we do realistically with those snubs, And so that's why I'm here. Not just to talk about everybody's fave, but to try to kind of slot these pieces in and make them make sense.
I don't know Chappell's list. I'm excited to hear it on the podcast today, and it should be a fun one. And of course, we can take reactions from the listeners as we go through it, maybe talk about anything else season 50 at large. Last night, we got together for the season 50 draft. I don't even think the game started yet. And we drafted already. And so we had 7 people in the draft. We each drafted a team of 3. You can hear that now on the Rob Has a Podcast patron podcast feed. Go to robhasawebsite.com/patron for that. If you don't want to become a patron at this time, we totally understand. We will drop it in the season 50 preseason in the main feed. So everybody will get to hear the draft eventually.
Yeah. But if you're a patron, you already caught the hot takes. You already know what happened. And now you get to wait as, we see how things unfold. Things will start to come out. It's going to be more fun watching it early and kind of knowing where we're going instead of waiting until the week before we start talking about Survivor 50 to know the cast. So I love this idea. I'm happy that everybody got to tune in and see the picks that we made because it was some very interesting things going on that patron draft. I'll say that.
Okay. Also, yesterday, I dropped a podcast. The guys from Drop Your Buffs stopped by, and we talked about their reactions to Survivor 50. I talked a little bit about my saga with Survivor 50. You could hear that also in our podcast feed from Sunday. All right, Chappell, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling okay. Like I said, I'm taking this assignment very serious. So I'm kind of nervous because I don't want to misrepresent who I think should be on the list versus what I think would be some notable snubs for Survivor 50. So I'm very tapped in right now.
Can you walk us through what's the difference between people that you think should be on it and the notable snubs?
So if I made this season, if it was just in the hands of Chappell, it would look very different. There are some people who would be there regardless. I don't care how many times y'all are tired of seeing them. I will never get tired of seeing Cerise, so she's on every cast. But I'm also never tired of seeing Sandra. So, things like that. And so, no one's like, Sandra got snubs. Personally, to me, maybe she did. But I also know people feel like that about Boston Rob and about Parvati.
I didn't think they got snubbed until they put Dee and Kyle on. It was okay, I understand. Now I don't know why they aren't there.
And that's why I'm taking this so seriously. Because I think that you cannot apply all the rules of this game that we're about to play to everyone. Okay. And so I've gone in and I've looked at the cast and I've tried to kind of put the pieces together to say, okay, what were they thinking? Because it just seems like they made some shit up. And I could do that myself. I really could. But I want to find some type of through line between these people to where, okay, if we apply these same rules to this group of people, this is how we came up with this. And here are our snubs from that group based on those rules. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think once you get going, I think it'll all become more clear. I would like to say that I feel like that in listening to some interviews that have been posted with Jeff in terms of what they were looking for, it seems to me, I feel like what they were going for was maybe this idea of maybe that we didn't go necessarily for the biggest names, but I think what they're saying, and maybe they should have messaged this better of, we think we are giving you what will be the best season. That it may not. I believe, and we'll hear some interviews from production when they come out, and they'll talk in Fiji, and eventually. But I think that that's what you're going to hear of. You didn't know Boston Rob was Boston Rob when we brought him back. You didn't know Parvati was Parvati when we brought her back. When we brought back Sandra, people were like, "Really, Sandra? Okay." That's, I think, going to be the company line of that. We brought back people that we think are going to turn into more of what you want.
So here's my issue. I think you can apply that to some of the list, but you cannot apply that to everyone. And so my thesis here is that I'm going to break down the Survivor 50 cast that we got and kind of apply different rules to those sections. And then I'm going to fill it with snubs from each of those sections. So for instance, in the new era, yeah, you could say, we don't know what this person would be if they played 2 or 3 times. That's fine. In the old era, we know exactly who Aubrey is. We've seen her play a billion times. We know who she is. So there's no way they were using that criteria for the old era, right? So I want to just start with the old era and kind of work my way through what I'm thinking that they were going for, and then make some adjustments based on your commentary, my commentary. And then, of course, we're live here on YouTube. So, of course, I'd look at the chat and see what they have to say as well. But I want this to be an exercise in let us all, we are the fans. It's in our hands. Let's do this.
And so when we were planning out the season 50 content of what this week was going to look like, when we talked about we should do a podcast about the snubs, there was nobody else that came to mind than you as being the person to go to for the official snub list.
I'm telling you, I'm taking this very seriously. I've been thinking about it so much. That's why if you look on the internet, you can scour it. You really don't see me saying much about the cast because I'm like, no, I want to get all my thoughts together. I just wanted to get all my thoughts together. I'm being very measured for once. It's something that I've been trying this week. You know, next week I'm back to being me. But for this particular assignment, I feel like it's Survivor 50. I should take this serious. I don't want people to come away from this and be like, why does Chappell think those people are snubbed? I want to give people very clear reasons why I feel like these people are snubbed so that they don't look at this and be like, who came up with this? Because we're already doing that with the Survivor 50 cast. Because I would say this. In a vacuum, those people are all great. No, they're all great. They're all great people. They're all great Survivor characters in their own way. But it's the way that you brought them together. That's why people are complaining about the cast. No one's like people are like, why do we need to have Coach back? Coach is a generational character on Survivor. Do we need Coach in this iteration of a cast with these people? Maybe not. And I think that's why it's falling flat. It's not so much the separate people, because the separate people are fine. But it's when you bring all these separate people together and you're trying to create this Voltron. It's not giving you Voltron, man. It's new Avengers. It's kind of sloppy. You know what I'm saying? It's not exactly what we signed up for. So that's my thesis, and that's how I'm going to try to look at these snubs.
Okay, so you said you wanted to start on the old era, and you're going to fix the old era.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna talk about some people who could have been left off the old era. Okay, so. And when I'm talking about old era, I'm actually going to start with the people who are pre-season 20 because Survivor decided we don't need anybody from the 20s. So we'll get to them in a second. But let's just start with season 20 and earlier, okay?
Okay.
All right. So based on what I can tell from the Survivor 50 cast, they were looking for faces of the franchise, right? They have Coach. Hold on. Let me pull up the Survivor 50 cast. I don't want to get this wrong because I'm not actually looking at theirs because mine is better. But you start off with like Coach and Stephanie LaGrossa, right? That makes sense. They were like big names, big faces. They played multiple times. Sari, Ozzy. These are household names in Survivor history. So it makes sense that they're there. If you wanted to, like Rob, this is kind of something you and I were talking about. It felt like when you first heard about Survivor 50, that you assumed it was going to be these people, right? One last rip for the legends, you know? Is that inaccurate?
I, at first, thought it was going to be a lot of people from the new era and maybe a couple of people. But then they made it sound like, no, it's going to be a lot of people from all the eras. And so that's when I started to think that, okay, we're going to bring back a lot of folks and maybe some people for that one last rip.
Okay, so let's talk about the one last rip, folks, because I do like that idea. Now, it's not personally what I would have wanted for my Survivor 50, but let's go with that because it does feel like there's some of that energy. Stephanie LaGrossa, multiple time player. I asked the Survivor fact checker. I said, "Hey, what's the amount of days these people, the ones who've been chosen, have played, right?" And from Jenna Lewis at 65 days, 2 seasons, all the way up to Ozzy at 128 days. These are no slouches. All of these people made their mark on Survivor. And so I said, okay, look, I'll go to Jenna Lewis and I'll kind of use her as the benchmark. If you have played multiple seasons of Survivor, like everybody on this cast has, and in the old era, we were talking about the olds, pre-20s. If you have played multiple seasons and you've lasted at least 65 days, you are in the running for this, okay?
Okay.
So that's what, so I'm thinking that's what production had in mind. That's how we get Jenna. That's how we get Kobe. That's how we get Stephanie. That's how we get Sari. That's how we get Ozzy. That's how we get Coach.
Is that why I didn't make it?
I mean, maybe, I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of them.
I've played 50 days, 50, Chappell, it's perfect.
Rob, you're in another category. Okay. You're in another category. We'll get to the Rob snub as well. Don't worry, it's coming. But okay. I did want to try to find a through line with these people, right? And so that's all I landed on. These people play multiple times. They're big characters, but they're basically they were faces of the franchise in different ways. And then you have Jenna Lewis as well.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to start with Jenna Lewis and Borneo, there are other people who play multiple times coming out of the first few seasons. I had tweeted this a few weeks ago and people were boo and throwing their tomatoes at me. And I was like, I see what you cheer for, so your boos don't affect me. So I had posited Jervis Peterson as a potential snub. And here's why. One, we know we didn't meet the BIPOC mandate that we all know that CBS promised us. So that would solve that problem. But also Jervis has played 69 days across 2 seasons. Yeah, nice. Hella nice. Across 2 seasons. And he also is some 20s representation. Now, I'm not going to say Jervis needs to be on this cast, but based on the criteria that I've already outlined, that's why I said that Jervis should be a snub. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I love Jervis. I think that Jervis would have been very fun to have as part of this cast because I think that Jervis he's timeless. He doesn't age. Yeah.
And it would be Borneo representation, which we know if you want to get the old people back from that I left Survivor, but I came back, but I'll come back for this. He's a notable name. Now, I'm not saying Jervis is at the top of my list of snubs, but again, we're following my criteria here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Obviously, a big snub. Sam, if you could pull up somebody on we got to talk about the original Black Widow, Jerry Manthe.
Okay.
Jerry Manthe.
All right. You threw him off. He didn't know which side.
I told him we're being loosey-goosey with here. But again, I'm not picking this because I love Jervis. Now, if I'm picking my cast, Jervis is on my cast because I love Jervis. He's part of the reason why I started watching Survivor. But I'm trying to put myself in the mind of what we could be looking for. If we were going to flesh out that season of here's the last rip for these legends, here's what we're going to do. Oh, also, another thing, in the last rip category, we're not talking about any winners. We didn't get any winners from pre-20. None. We got none, so I'm not talking about them. So Parvati's not in this conversation. Sandra's not in this conversation. Boston Rob's not in this conversation. Todd's not in this conversation. You get it. We'll get to them later on, okay?
Okay.
Jerry Manthe, obvious snub. Everyone's talking about it, but Jerry's stats don't lie. Jerry lasted 81 days across 3 seasons of Survivor, okay? One of the faces of the franchise, for sure. She was in the first All-Star season, like yourself, obviously, and clearly she wanted to play. So the biggest snub that I will start with is Jerry Manthe. How do you feel about the potential that we could have gotten to see Jerry Manthe come back for one last rip?
So this is basically, I just want to make sure I'm following what you're subbing out. So instead of Jenna and Colby, we're getting Jerry and Jervis.
No. See, what I'm doing here is saying, if we were going to follow that, let's say we were going to build a cast of last rip people.
Okay.
I think that Jerry Manthe would fall in that category.
Yeah. Okay. So is this all going to be if you were doing a cast of all the last chance people, this is what that cast would look like?
I'm saying if this was Survivor Last Chance, here are the people that we could be talking about potentially. I'm not saying that we're going to build out a cast of 12 women and 12 men. I'm just saying here are the snubs that did not make Survivor Last Chance, because we got our Survivor Last Chance people, and that is the one that we have for Survivor 50. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, we're not building a cast. I'm just saying if we were, here are the people eligible for that title.
Okay. All right. So Jerry Manthe, I think it's been pretty well traveled at this point, like the points for Jerry Manthe, that she is somebody who is going to bring a lot of emotion to the season. And I think she's going to share that with the audience. I mean, she's been sharing her emotions about not being in the cast so much. We could have gotten that on the show.
Yeah, we could have got that on the show. Obviously, Coach is on the season. Jerry and Coach have been a dynamic duo in the past. That would be fun to explore. But also, Jerry and Colby is a tale as old as time. I don't even know if I want to see them on Survivor without each other. I kind of just feel like they go hand in hand. And so for me, Jerry, like, especially knowing those two people are getting on, Jerry is probably one of the most obvious snubs based on what we have for Survivor 50.
Mm-hmm.
You good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So let's move on. Now we have a few people. And again, I've narrowed this down to multiple time players from the early seasons that have made a big splash or were the faces of the blah, blah, blah. And like I said, Rob, you did not meet the 65-day mark, so we will talk about you later.
Yeah, but you already said that.
Yes, I'm just making sure, because people are tuning in the chat. I don't want people to be like,
yes. If you're just joining us, Rob did not play enough days of Survivor to meet Chappell's criteria for one last ride.
The perceived Survivor 50 criteria for the people they chose. Okay.
Yes.
Because another person who I personally don't need to see on Survivor again, but I have been complaining for months, because when I found out they were going to the entire 50. They were going to look at all 25 years of Survivor for players. Right. I just knew they were going to pick Rupert. Somehow, I don't know if Rupert just has like a bad foot or what, if his toe is acting up again. But if you're picking people who are massively popular from the Survivor seasons, from the early days, you cannot skip Rupert. It doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. I personally never need to see Rupert on my screen ever again, ever. But if you have LaGrossa, you gotta have Rupert. He was LaGrossa number one.
Yeah. So for Rupert, I just don't know if this was a snub. I don't know if they wanted him and he couldn't do it medically, or if there was some other reason. So I just don't know what Rupert is like physically at this point.
Look, and that's okay. A lot of these old geezers are probably not the same as they used to be. We're going to get a whole lesson in fitness from Colby this season. He's going to bounce back. I know it. I got my heart set on Colby. He's going to take off the fat suit. He's going to be ripped. Okay. And so I'm down for that. I can understand that all of these people could have, outlying circumstances that would keep them off the cast. I'm just saying, based on the criteria that I've outlined, based on what we see, you can't have LaGrossa without having Rupert. He was LaGrossa number one. Okay. So if we're going for that, the faces of the franchise, how do you not have them?
Yeah. So in this world that you're building, is the entire cast made up of these people? It's like all the one last rip people. It's all people who played before Survivor 20 that are people who have over 85 days played.
This could be 65. This could 65. Be this 65. This could be one last rip versus the new era. This could be one last rip versus second chance, whatever. I'm just saying that if we're using one last rip as a category, here are the people, here are the legends of the game that would represent a celebration of 25 years of Survivor. How do you not have Rupert's on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor, and he's not even a good player?
Okay.
There we are. Okay. Chat, let me know how bad we hate Rupert. Again, personally, not even there. Okay. But not for me. But for anybody else, go for it. Right? Y'all like that. Okay, bet. I'm seeing people in the chat saying Lex and Big Tom. I don't think they have the potential, the star power that maybe like a Rupert has or whatever, I think they would be fine if like if we're bringing back the faces for the one last rip. We got multiple times played by both of them. You know, they both went far. I don't know if it's 65 days. Someone would have to fact check me because I don't have that on hand. I didn't have time.
Both of them?
Yeah, for both of them.
Yeah, I think they both hit 65.
Yeah, I assume they went to the one of them went to the end twice. The other one, it'd be like a 65. But yeah, so those two as well. We also see like the return with like Alicia and Kimmy Kappenberg, but they don't make the splash that some of the other people name. Sheehan is another one who I don't think makes 65 days, but she has a good showing. So there are plenty of people in there, right? Even if you wanted to get to like Andrew Savage, who I don't know if people are looking for another return for Andrew Savage or anybody like that, but
he's been very active on Twitter lately.
To me, Andrew Savage would be a great person to put in this spot because again, he kind of spans different generations of Survivor. He's in the Pearl Islands, you know, in the early stages, but he also comes back for Cambodia. So he kind of like he's like in that Jervis Bridge category where he kind of like bridges the gap. Tyson's a little bit like that too. So I those people are there, but I don't necessarily say like, oh, we are missing them from the season for it to work.
Okay.
All right. I would like to make a sexy choice here. I think this is a spicy one. I think that Candace Cody was robbed. I think Candace Cody, she spans 3 decades of Survivor in some weird twist of events. You know, the way this woman played in Cook Islands and then Heroes versus Villains and then again in Blood versus Water for no apparent reason. I think that if you were celebrating 25, I think Candace Cody would be another good one. But once we hit that Candace Cody realm, there are so many other big players that we haven't talked about, right? So you have the biggest name that I've heard so far thrown around in this category of faces of the show, played multiple times, like thousands of days, Amanda Kimmel. All right. Amanda Kimmel plays in 3 times in 2 years, maybe?
I think it's more than 2 years.
It's something to that effect, right? Yeah. And over the course of like 3 years, she plays like 3 times.
Yeah.
And back to back, she goes to the final tribal council. She's the best hero on the Heroes tribe by the end of the game for sure. And she's good. Everybody loves Amanda. You know, whether you like, you might not love her gameplay. You might say that it's a little feckless, you know, at times, or maybe that she's not a closer. But like people in that realm, right? In this, I'd say one of the golden eras of Survivor is the seasons, right there, like season 11, 12 to like 16, 17. Those people that were made right there, a lot of them are legends. And I think like Amanda and Candace, they kind of fall in that category, but more so Amanda, of course.
Yeah, it seems like that they had Amanda at one point in the fold and they let her off the hook.
Yeah, look, that's the thing. People are saying like Amanda dropped. Okay, well, what you got to do to keep Amanda? You know, that throw us the money. You know, like, how bad do you want to celebrate this season?
Yeah,
what's it worth? What's it worth to you? You know, it's Amanda Kimmel, but that's like it's not like it's only Amanda.
And we don't know what
Kimmel.
her ultimate issue was, if it was money or commitment or what. But it did seem like that there was a lot of smoke that Amanda Kimmel was going to be part of this cast.
There was a lot of smoke. Now, if she decided not to do it, there's nothing we can do. But a snub is a snub, right? Like if she was asked, we don't know that. Survivor should have sent out the list of the people they asked, okay, and the people who turned them down. Then we could eliminate them from contention.
Yeah,
but we
maybe
ain't got
Survivor could make their list of people who snubbed us.
Right, exactly. People who left them on red. Amanda Kimmel would fall in that category. Another person, Rob, from the Amanda Kimmel kind of era, Jonathan Penner. Jonathan Penner.
All right.
He sounds like he wanted to play Rob. Where is Jonathan?
It's a good question. And yeah, he has come out and said that, I don't know, there was like some conflicting reports of that. He said he was out. Some people said that, oh no, he got sick or had COVID and there was some other reason why he couldn't do it. But then he had posted about how did you notice that nobody below the age of Probst is on the cast? Probably because he doesn't want to be reminded of his age.
Oh, well, I mean, if so, Jeff did his big one because Jonathan Penner would have definitely reminded him any chance he got.
Yeah.
He'd be like,
Jonathan Penner yeah, to me is one that in the one last rip category, very disappointing that I feel like we will probably never see him play Survivor again.
Yeah, I believe he played something like 78 days across 3 seasons. So he might not be one of like the flagship faces of the early stages of Survivor, those first 10 seasons. But when we usher in the golden era of Survivor and the idol era of Survivor, Jonathan Penner is right there at day one. And then he also comes back again in the 20s in a way that they're not really in the in the 20s, and so they're not really showing a lot of homage to that group of people from the 20s. So I feel like even if it's a returnee that doubled up, you gotta show them some love.
He's also evoked in Winners at War when Yule is going to raise money for ALS research because of Penner, and the whole very tragic story about his wife Stacy, and he's trying to raise money for them. He's playing for them if he wins the prize money, so it comes up there also.
Yeah, he was basically another cast member on that season, and we were rooting for Yule even more because of that. It was like everybody loves Yule, but it's like at that point we started rooting for him double, because like, man, this whole Penner thing, we all had our hearts going out to Jonathan, and so I don't understand how they looked at this list and thought we don't need him. Where's Johnny? What we do?
Where's Johnny?
Yeah, bad luck, Johnny. Bad luck, Johnny. Oh, okay. I know. Again, I brought up earlier that there was some misrepresentation, I guess, when they say about the amount of BIPOC people would be on this season. Back in the old days, Rob, you were there. They would have like. They get their favorites and then they just keep repeating them over again. That's why we saw Sari play 18 times in like 2 days. So one of the people in that Sari mode that were just getting just making their rounds, James Clement, he was all over the place as a face of Survivor. One of the biggest, he's in that Rupert mode of like massively popular, all over the place, and played a lot of times in a short amount of time.
Yeah, James, we last saw him in Survivor 36 at the Ghost Island finale, and Jeff talked about that, he was like giving props to James and to Eric of like, hey, you guys made big moves. Like, maybe I had it wrong about you guys. Redmond's in the chat. I have no idea if James Clement was contacted, and I have no idea if James Clement wants to play. When he's not playing Survivor, we don't hear from him.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, he was there. He was like almost like this random figure in Survivor that popped up. Everybody loved him. He wasn't the best game player, like kind of in that Rupert mode, but he was such a big character. It's like, okay, if we're trying to give these people one last shot at it, if we're paying homage to the GOATs back, the big names back in the day, y'all just like didn't even call them.
I could see him saying no also.
I could see him saying no.
Yeah.
I could see him saying no.
CBS snubs.
He should have said no the third time. But like this, yeah. I just don't like if they called him, cool. I'm not saying they didn't call him. I'm just saying it's crazy that he's not on the cast.
Okay.
If we're giving them their last rip.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
Is that the end of the one last rip people?
I think
just on James Clement. What I think?
There's one more person that I can't ignore because I think they did get a call. What the hell is going on? What happened? They don't want Courtney Yates on him anymore?
Yeah, Courtney Yates, I had made a cameo that had been circulating that they did call her. I think she said she never really felt like it was going to happen, but they did do their due diligence just to see if she was up for it. And yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they were going for. I think it's hard without a theme to sort of like unite all this to say like, okay, what exactly were they looking for? We just kind of got the names. We didn't really even get from Jeff when he did some interviews about, okay, this is exactly what we wanted from people. I know he also said they wanted people that really wanted to play hard. I've seen interviews where he said, you have to effing want it. Those are the people that they wanted. He said, Chrissy, she wants it. She plays hard. And so maybe that they look at Courtney and like, well, how bad does she's there, but how hard does she play?
Jeff never gave respect to Courtney. You know, he never respected her the way I wanted him to respect her. Maybe he respected her personally, like on a one-to-one, but publicly, for me, it always felt like Jeff was like, dang, Courtney. And she called him Jeffrey. He probably didn't like that either.
Yeah, I don't think he liked that.
You know, yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like, okay, say what you want to say. But if we're giving these faces that last a long time in the game that are big personalities, Courtney was barely on the screen during Heroes vs. Villains, and she still got a ton of confessionals. She was still just like talking shit the whole time.
She was very quiet really through like the Tyson boot, and then she starts to like pick it up the last couple episodes.
Yeah. And who knows how far she would have gone had she made the jury that time or whatever. So I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, she made the jury, but had she like, you know, made the merge or whatever. But yeah, whatever. That's just me. I'm just saying, I don't see why Courtney Yates would be that. Do you have any big, strong, like bones of contention with my list of these one last rip people?
It's just so hard because I feel like without knowing who we're taking out to say like, yeah, those are all like fine names to put in, but I feel like I need to have like a one-to-one of like, okay, we're taking out Jenna and Colby and putting in Jerry and Jervis, and we're taking out Ozzy and putting in James. So I think that it's a little bit hard without the like subtraction to also do the addition.
So here's my reason why I can't do that is because they didn't give us a complete cast of anything. They gave us pieces of everything. So it's like, you gave us 5 of these people. I'm not saying that those people shouldn't be on either. Those people should stay. Of course, let them be on. I'm not mad about any of them being on. It's just these people should be on with them. You know what I'm saying? If you want to subtract people, subtract, I don't know, 10 of the people that I haven't talked about yet, you know?
Okay.
You know, like whatever. Take off the new era people. Now you have a different cast. Survivor Last Rip with legends, or, you know, the OGs or whatever you want to call it from the first 20 seasons. I think you could make an argument for maybe like Terry Dietz. But I think he played like 51 days, so he doesn't quite meet my criteria. But yeah, leading up to I guess what season 20. I mean, if you don't want to have Stephen Fishback on again, you know, like, I don't know if he was called.
I don't think he wants to have Stephen Fishback on again.
Stephen Fishback wouldn't want to do Survivor 50. Did he say? Is he on record?
I believe many times
that he wouldn't play Survivor 50. Stephen Fishback's crazy. That book better sell. Damn it. Y'all go pre-order that book right now. StephenFishback.com.
I think he told Mike Bloom during the Survivor wish list that he does not want to play Survivor 50. Maybe if JT was there also, maybe he would come back.
Oh, God. You got to let that go, Stephen. Please. You know,
yeah, I believe Stephen has no desire to play Survivor again.
Emily Flippin said the same thing.
That's so true. But I don't think Stephen's not a liar like that.
Oh, okay. He hasn't won yet, so you might be right. You got to be a good liar to win Survivor. Maybe Steve ain't got it in him. Okay, but yeah, so that's leading up to just to season 20. Now there are people in the 21 and to 30 era that they just didn't touch.
Yeah.
Is it nobody in the 20s from I guess that debuted?
I mean,
in the 20s?
Coach and Ozzy played in Survivor 23.
Well, look, let's just pick a season.
Okay.
Andrea Belke.
Yeah.
Where is Andrea Belke?
That's a really good question. Island. She had done an Instagram and she said that I believe that they asked her. I think she said she would do it and she didn't get picked, if I have the story correct. But she said she really was not disappointed about it.
I mean, she Andrea Belke now. Like, she different. She like, you know, like she a big dog now. You know what I'm saying? Like, she can do whatever she wants. But at the same time, we're talking about the snubs. We're talking about people who are faces of the franchise. This lady played a bunch of times, and she does fairly well each time. She's good in confessional. She's a big character. She kind of like, I won't say she unseated Parvati, but people used to say, I want to play like Parvati, and then slowly they were like, well, I can play like Andrea. You know? So, yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's a snub. You don't feel the same way?
Look, it seems like her heart wasn't really in it. You know, it seems like that they called her and she wasn't really like dying to go. And she said that she's in a better place to not go. So it would have been great. She easily could have been on this cast, but it just seems to me like she was not really up for it.
Andrew's played, what, over 100 days of Survivor?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy. Thanks to Survivor Fact Checker, I do kind of have like a good feel for like who are the people who like were putting up numbers, and she's definitely on that list. She played over 100 days. She's played more than Kobe. I think less than Aubrey, more than Kobe. That's nothing to slouch at or sneeze at, I guess. So So anyway, so Andrea's on my list of snubs. I saw some people in the chat talking about Brenda Lowe. I feel like Brenda's heart wasn't in it last time. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe not. It seemed like that she didn't really have a big edit up until like around the time that she ended up going home. And then she brought a lot to it, but she was so good in Survivor Nicaragua. We just have no idea what station in life she's at right now. And I think that like, to me, that is a very interesting returnee. Whereas I feel like Amanda also was in that category of like, these people like had something. And maybe the last time out, it didn't go great, but is there something that do they have that other gear that we can get to? Like, we don't know exactly everything that she's capable of.
Yeah. She did great both times. She's a big name. She was a fan favorite, I would say. People clamored for her to come back. She did come back on the fans versus favorite season. So that means she's already a favorite. She had an interesting exit. But I know people like Brenda. She's not one of my snubs, but I've been looking on the internet and I've been kind of reading the comments, and people were looking for Brenda. At least Brenda mentioned. I need to know if these people got phone call, at least from the 20s, because a lot of them are just kind of like becoming lost names. I'm not here to revisit voting out your mom, but Ciara did vote out her mom. She played on Game Changers. She played a bunch of times. But a lot of these people played a bunch of times. I'm telling you, the average amount of time these people played was 3 of the cast that they landed on. I think Jenna Lewis is the only one who only played twice. So where is 4-time player Ciara Easton?
Yeah, Ciara Easton would have been interesting. I think that she's somebody that kind of has gotten forgotten about. They brought her back for Game Changers so soon, and she's another person that's played like 3 times in very short succession. She plays, 27, 31, and 34. So she's like every 3 seasons for a little bit and then never again. So she has 3 times in 7 seasons, and then ultimately, I guess it's probably 8. And then we never see her again. And I feel like she was gone so quick in Survivor Game Changers. You would think that she kind of got unlucky there. So I wouldn't have been mad at Ciara there.
Me neither. But I also wouldn't be mad at some representation from the Philippines. I think that these 2 people have been complaining. People have been talking about it. They're like, where are these people? Sam, you got these people from the Philippines. We have Abby Maria and Malcolm.
Sure.
They're in this space where I guess Survivor really doesn't want to highlight the first-time players. But Abby Maria Gomez, she would help with our BIPOC issue. Okay. She was called. We know this because she has not stopped talking about it. And she was cut basically the day before they announced the cast. Am I getting that wrong? Redmond's in the chat. I'm sure he would tell me.
So that Johnny Fairplay is reporting that that he kind of said that he had like a blind item that he had had a conversation with Abby Maria, and she thought she was going to find out on Wednesday on the early show if she was going to be on the cast. I think she might have thought it was like a Survivor Second Chance, according to Johnny Fairplay, and that might have been him misunderstanding what she's saying also.
Yikes. Yeah. I think that, again, we're looking for representation from all the eras. That's what they told us. This celebration of all of Survivor. So we've moved away from kind of like the faces of the game in those early stages, but now we're kind of to the people who shaped the middle era, and they played a lot. Abby Maria's played twice. She went far both times, and she is a bit of representation that people are missing when they look at this cast. So I don't think there's a reason why, like a strong case to be made against Abby Maria if they wanted to build a cast around these types of players.
She's always brought the drama. She's going to bring it into Survivor 50. Like I think Abby would have been a fun wild card.
Yeah. And then
we had a great interview a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Abby's off. I love hearing you talk to Abby. She's like, you could tell that she loves, like, y'all have a good banter together. And Abby seems great off the island, but on the island, she turns into the dragon. And, I'm sorry, the dragon is good TV. Always has been, ever since day one.
I would have loved to have worked with Abby Maria on Survivor.
that would have been so cool. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what we're supposed to be doing here, building like almost like our Avengers cast. Of like, who do we need here to celebrate Survivor?
Maybe it would be my mistake. I feel like I get her. I feel like that I can work with her.
It would be your mistake. That would actually be your downfall, because so many people have said that. So many. Look, start with RC.
I could do it though.
You would be the one. Yeah. Okay. I just would love to see
challenge accepted.
Abby and Coach on the same.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
No, Rob. I think I don't know, man. But again, we would have loved to see it. We'd have loved to see it. Also in this same kind of area with Abby and with Malcolm, there are a couple other people who I'm like kind of like breezing by because I just don't see it like as a realistic possibility. Like Beast Mode Cowboy, we saw him play twice. Like, who needs that? He's not really a celebration of Survivor type. If you miss him, that's good for you.
Could we stop down on Malcolm that you mentioned also? Because I feel like that he was a huge casting snub to not have him here.
Absolutely. Malcolm is one of the bigger names. He's kind of, again, in the La Grossa, in the Rupert kind of form of like, Malcolm. I asked people on the street, what did they think? And they wanted to be like Malcolm. Everybody, Malcolm, how do you get your hair like that? Malcolm, oh my God. Like, people were eating out of Malcolm's hands, and now he's just gone. Like there's no Malcolm. We don't get no explanation.
It really is so bizarre, especially after the way he went out on Game Changers, where it really did feel like that he has more story, where he played, and Sierra we mentioned, but Malcolm is like so much even more that he has this great story. He comes so close the first time. He's not able to get back there, but he really becomes one of the faces of the show after his second time that he plays. And then he comes back on Game Changers, and then there's just this horrible red wedding where he gets extremely unlucky in a season where he's like 80% of people's winner picks is Malcolm going back into that season. And that's it? We never get the end of the story on Malcolm?
Nope.
He won Snake in the Grass and that's it?
He won Snake in the Grass?
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. Had no clue. They just decided, no, guess we don't need Malcolm here. Again, I feel like if you were building out a cast of people and you had those early legends, Malcolm sits with those people in Survivor history. Like he's not Coach, but he's like Coach adjacent. He's not, like there you have the people who kind of built the franchise, and you have the people who carried the legacy. And I would say Malcolm is one of those people as well.
Yeah. I think if you were going to like make a list of like the faces of Survivor, I think he's probably like somewhere between like 10 and 15.
Yeah. But that's not bad because we had 733 people to choose from, Rob, and 25 years to go off of. And we're like, we need 3 people from the same season. That's what'll get them. It's like, all right.
I like that idea. Some sort of like the faces of Survivor. These aren't the best players. These aren't necessarily like, these are sort of like the most like notable people in the show's history.
Yeah. Rebin in chat's pointing out Russell Swan, another one where we saw him come from Survivor 19, play again. Russell Swan, I think his story is done. That's why I don't really talk about Russell Swan.
Yeah.
He talked to his Lord and Jeff at the same time and was like, hey, I'm good here. I don't need to be playing Survivor. Russell Swan's one of the GOATs, in my opinion. I love him so much. He's just a fun character. But yeah, as far as like being on Survivor 50, I don't think we necessarily need Russell Swan. But for the Swan people out there, I don't blame you for wanting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back in this 20s area, right? We know that there are some people who are more controversial, who we probably won't see, like a Raymond Bledsoe. We saw Raymond his whole spiel on Twitter, XYZ. So I'm not really like going to cape too much for
I
Raymond
don't think
Bledsoe.
that being controversial was the issue. I mean, it seems like that. I feel like if you're controversial, they either call you or they don't. And it sounds like that they called him.
They didn't care to like
I don't think they called him to see if he was controversial. I think they said not controversial enough to stop us from calling.
I think they called him to piss him off. Like,
maybe.
Wouldn't it be kind of funny if we called Spencer? Excuse me, Raymond. I'm sorry, Spencer. Yeah, like I bet they were like laughing and kikiing all the way to the bank, knowing that they were pissing him off. But yeah, again, 2-time player, massively famous, one of the faces of the show is around that Cagayan era. Tyler Perry's making up advantages so he can win the game.
He was huge. Yeah.
He was huge. Along with him, Tasha Fox, Woo, not like the biggest name, especially Wu, because Wu kind of like he like just kind of like phoned it in second chances. But Tasha shows up every time. Again, we need BIPOC representation. Was she busy? Did y'all call her? I just want to know. I'm not saying she needs to be on Survivor 50, but again, we're picking people. We're moving. We're trying to fill this thing up. What are we doing?
She has a very quiet game in the second half of Second Chances. Like she actually is doing a lot of stuff in the beginning in the pre-merge game, but then we really don't hear a ton from her in the post-merge.
Yeah. Oh, another person from that same season. The chat has asked for, since we've made it to Cagayan, and I do need to talk about some other things too. But since we made it to Cagayan, of course, we have Chaos Cast. Personally, I'm good on the Chaos Cast story. I've seen it. I wasn't able to make connections. I'm making connections, but like now we have like Chaos Cast. We got Emily Flippin. We could do like this two sides of the same coin type situation if you wanted to. How do you feel about Cass being on like one of the faces of Survivor in like for like a last rip?
For the last rip, I just don't know. It feels like to me that the relationship between the show and Cass is broken. So and she was saying on Twitter that they called her. I just am surprised that they want her and that she would want them. Like, it doesn't seem like a match.
No. And yet they keep calling, So it's like, Cass is always like, yeah, Survivor bothered me the other day. I don't know if I would do that show. Like, she always like seems like she's too cool for it, but you also played twice. So now I don't know. Were you too cool for it the second time? Like, you too cool for it now? Again, we need the call logs. I need to know everybody who got the call and if they really want it. But yeah, if we're talking about people who could just like, this could be their last shot to play Survivor.
Yeah. We'll
never go back to this era again. Why not let Cass have one more go? Next up.
Bring drama.
Next up. I heard this person said no. And they also did not get a call. Kelly Whitworth couldn't get a call from Survivor? What's up? What's up with that?
Yeah. It seems like that's another situation where that I think she's good, and I think that maybe they're not calling. Not that she doesn't deserve a spot. I think that she's another person that is easily like one of the faces of the show and is beloved by the fans. I just don't think that she was particularly interested in coming back, and maybe knowing that they didn't call.
I just don't understand. Like you said, faces of the show, beloved by the fans. Who's seeing Kelly Whitworth show up and being like, nah, I'm good? Like, most people are like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Kelly Whitworth plays hard every time. You want to talk about people who play hard, Rob? How is she not the poster child for this person going to go out there and give it their all the whole time? Now, maybe she wasn't going to answer their call, but I still think they should have called. Nobody's going to call Kelly Whitworth. I'm sorry. Kelly Whitworth, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry if you don't want to do Survivor no more, but you should have did this one. You should have did Survivor 50. Sorry.
You want her to do it if she doesn't want to do it?
Absolutely. This is about me. This is in the hands of the fans. It's not in the hands of Kelly Whitworth, who is also a fan. Ma'am, you should want you to play Survivor. Stop playing.
It's fair.
Okay.
Making a lot of good points.
I'm just saying. I personally would have had Michaela Bradshaw on my list of snubs for my personal
list.
You're
into the 30s now.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I guess we can get to the 30s. Yeah, we can get to the 30s.
One other person I don't think we've talked about is, what about Philip? How did you feel about if Philip, somebody who I feel like late in the game, I started to see his name in the rumors?
Yeah, I like Philip. I don't think Survivor and Philip have a good relationship. I would say that. I don't think he liked the way they treated him, and I don't want him to not have a good time. But Philip and Coach on the same season, Survivor been wanting that to happen.
That's what they wanted. I do feel like that Philip and Cass, I think, are similar in terms of like, I don't know if this is a good fit either, but it seems like that maybe it is something that just like keeps coming back into the possibility.
Again, multiple time player, big name, one of the faces of his season for sure. Based on the criteria we're looking at right now, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't at least call him. That's all I'm saying. Maybe you don't want him, but you got to call him.
Okay. Yeah. Michaela is another interesting one where I kind of felt like that after her run on the challenge, that I kind of felt like that she, like Desi also, I feel like that these are people who sort of like really like broke out more on other shows. You would think that Survivor might have been interested in potentially bringing them back.
Nope. They don't have any interest in them. They didn't call. I just don't feel like they called my girl Michaela. I don't know why. And I think Michaela would be running to come back to play again, especially with Sari. Like, come on, man. I would have called Michaela.
Yeah.
But we're now at the 30s, and this is not an area that they skipped. This is just an area that like they just decided to pick and choose what kind of player. So these 30s people, they don't really follow that criteria because these are basically second chances. So I have a whole different spiel for second chances. But everybody we just talked about before this have played Survivor multiple times, for roughly 60 days, and we're big names and faces of their season. Make sense?
Got it.
All right. So if I was going to fill a cast with that group of people, obviously yourself, you would be one of those snubs. Rob, it just doesn't make sense. I know you're probably tired of hashing it out, but it doesn't make sense that you weren't there because of these other added benefits that you have. And I want to talk about somebody else with that too. You, Bryce, Isaiah, there's several people in the Survivor world who have made themselves staples in Survivor. So it's kind of like, if you are a fan of Survivor, you might not have ever seen this person play. I know people who are patrons of RHAP who have not seen Survivor the Amazon. And I don't think you will let them watch Survivor All-Stars. And so because of that, they still know you. They signed up to be a part of a Survivor community. I don't think this show lasts 50 seasons without the contributions of people like you and Bryce. So the fact that y'all did not make it, and I know you got a call, but the fact that y'all not on the season, because we're looking at results, it's a travesty. Y'all were snubbed.
I do appreciate you saying that. It's fine. I get to talk about the show, and I'll continue to get to talk about the show. So it's, I understand it for the people that are disappointed. It's like a tough thing for me to talk about, because that I know for me personally, like, I'm fine. And I think that maybe the fact that I am fine is maybe hurts me in terms of like, if you're looking for people that are like going to like break down a wall to go to get out there. Unfortunately, that's not me. Like I would do it. I take the game so seriously. Like I would play hard, but I don't have it in me to like be so like desperate for it. Like I don't have like a yearning in my soul to be on the island. Like I would do it. It would be an honor, but like if I don't get to do it, I'm also okay.
And that's okay, right? But I would be crazy to not mention it. Again, we were talking about faces of the game. You definitely were one of those people for decades. People have been saying, I'm going to play a Rob Cesternino game. You helped define the strategy. We've been through this before, okay? So I'm so happy that you're able to find peace with it. Let us be the ones to complain and throw the damn fit, okay?
Yeah, but Bryce would have been great, by the way.
And we'll get to we're about to talk about Bryce and the second chances too. Oh, one last person. I think I skipped him. I didn't mean to. Ty Train played a bunch of times, goes far in the game every time. Be good for representation as well. Sia loved him, started giving out money, like
true.
Ty is always great in that mode, but he's kind of like the tail end of that group of people who were just kind of like the biggest popular names in their season who played multiple times. Okay. All right. So let's get to the second chancers. And we're going to start with where Survivor pretty much started, with HHH. They chose Chrissy Hoffbeck. I don't have no issue with that. But we're talking about Survivor second chance people who did not get a chance to come back. This is not the last rip. This is, we should have had an all-star season before 40, and we didn't. That's what this is. Chrissy Hoffbeck's great choice. Angelina, obviously the cast of David versus Goliath, you could pick them all. Fine. I don't care. But like, when we talk about HHH, one of the people we talk about is Devin Pinto. Devin Pinto, the guy who should have won, he's in that mode of like, he was right there, robbed goddess type situation. People say Chrissy was robbed, but that fire making challenge really screws over Devin the most. If not for that, Devin probably wins the game. He probably beats Chrissy too. So it's very tough.
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like that there's all of the Chrissy should have won discourse. If Devin Pinto was in the final three, though, I don't know necessarily maybe the people in the chat have a better like finger on the pulse of if Devin would have won, if it was Devin in the final 3 with Chrissy and Ryan, does Devin win the game? I think he was well liked, but I also had heard that people didn't know how good of a game he was playing until they saw the episodes.
Yeah. They didn't know about his strategy, but I also think that they didn't like Chrissy and they didn't like Ben. And so it's kind of like, if you bring in a third option that they're okay with, I think that Devin would have been on an all-star. If they had an all-star season prior to 40, Devin would have been there. And so if we're doing a second chances for a lot of players, and I think a lot of people wanted that, okay? We talked about the ones where this is their last chance to play Survivor, but let's talk about the people who this could have been their second chance to give us a show. I think Devin Pinto is in that mold.
Okay.
All right. I'm starting there, and I'm going to work my way up, and then I'm going back. I'm going back for the other second chances, okay? So stick with me here. So we have Devin Pinto from HHH. Another person that we have from Survivor Ghost Island. As close as you can get to winning Survivor, the man got there. Laurel just likes Wendell better. What did Dom Abate?
Yeah, well, that's social game. Yeah, but yeah, Dom Abate is a big snub. I mean, especially when you bring back Chrissy and Rick and Christian and Angelina, like Dom was supposed to be there with them. Like if you were going to do an all-star season and right the wrongs of the people that should have played again from the 30s, like he's right there with them.
And yet, not on this cast. And that's why this cast doesn't make sense. Because again, I just told you all the people who should have been in that first cast. That's cool. But now if you're talking about second chances, Dom Abate should have got a second chance. You know, whether you loved him or hated him as a character, the proof is in the pudding. He goes all the way to the end. He loses in the closest Survivor, the closest thing we've ever had in Survivor, which is literally a tie.
Overtime.
Overtime. And he was a big character. He found advantages. He did interesting things. You couldn't fit Dom Abate into Survivor 50?
You want somebody who's going to play hard. That's going to be Dom Abate.
That's the guy. That is the guy. So I started with Dom Abate. Now let's move to the edge of extinction.
Okay.
Because this is a season that don't get a lot of love. But I won't ignore this person because I saw people on the internet saying it. And thank you again to Survivor Fact Checker. Survivor Fact Checker posted a poll about who were the 75 most snubbed Survivor players from this list. Now, obviously, we cannot do a cast of 75, but I went in and I looked at some of the people that were on the list, and I was like, okay, if the people wanted him, let's talk about it. The people wanted Victoria Bamande. They thought that of all the players in Survivor Edge of Extinction, she was one of the shining stars. She goes out at the very end, so she's not like one of the people on the edge the whole time. She's very much screwed over by, the Edge of Extinction twist in a way. She does this weird thing where she doesn't vote for Gavin, which I think is crazy. It's amazing too. And I love it. But like, nobody had that. They didn't call Victoria. I don't even think she's that big of a personality. But I really do think that like, if you're going by a second chance for second chances, I think she deserves a second shot.
Yeah, she'd be like a good winner pick of like, okay, she's here. I don't think anybody's worried about her. Watch out. She's very slippery. And so I think that she could have been somebody who really did some damage. I think that she has just like a cutthroat streak that people don't realize.
And word on the street is that she didn't even get a call. You know, you couldn't even tap in. That's what I'm like, you didn't want to give these people a second chance. You really didn't want to. Because where is Davey? Rob.
Yeah. I would have been.
Where's Davey?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Where is Davey?
Where's Davey?
Where is my king? Where is Davey?
Yeah.
Davey had Sia giving him money. Jeff brought Davey out on stage like he was Sari.
You know what?
What are we doing?
Davey's biggest problem is that he was on a season with Christian and Angelina and Mike. I think that it was to bring back 4 people from the one season. What is this, Survivor 48? You know what I mean?
Right. But look, his biggest issue is that he was on a season with Mike White. Mike White shouldn't have that spot. Davey should have that spot. But if Mike White calls and says he wants to play Survivor, you let Mike White play Survivor. Davey should have had that third spot. Davey was the Sia fan favorite. Davey is he's a blurred. It's not an archetype we get a lot. We don't have the BIPOC representation that we even need. This solves one of your problems.
Yeah, Davey really was a victim of the success of the White Lotus.
Yeah. Mike
really White better like give him like a leading role in season 4.
It's starring Davey Rickenbacker. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So it doesn't make sense. Again, you can like people, you can have your faves. The entire cast of David versus Goliath, sans like 2 people, is amazing. But Davey was a standout in that season, a star, you know? So it's like, no, boo, 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 tomato, tomato, tomato. Davey should be here. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. We're still in that.
Played in his face.
That part, sure did. Island of the Idols is a season people don't talk about a lot. But I stand by this. Lauren Ashley Beck, queen. This lady played her ass off. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. That I think that it could be the Survivor 39 just halo effect of everything over season 39. I don't think anybody, nobody's ever come back from season 39. But she was talked about as like a surefire, like write it down, all-star, probably not in that tier of like Christian and Rick and Chrissy and Dom, but then it was like right under that. And I think there's it's not just her from season 39, but she was one of the leading people of that. I feel like that's been her story ever since she played, was that like, okay, she's going to play again and she's going to be really good.
And she's so famous now. Lauren has gone and made a name for herself in the media. So she's kind of like in that Kelly Wentworth mode. She's more like between Kelly Wentworth and Andrea, right? Where it's like she's famous, but like she's famous for Survivor, and she's taken Survivor and made it like more of a thing online, social media. Like, what are we doing? I know she got a call. Somebody DM Lauren Ashley Beck and say Chappell wants to know if you got a call for Survivor 50. I just need to know if they made the contact, because this is ridiculous. Absolutely. Also, my queen. I love Lauren Ashley Beck. But I mean, Karishma. Come on now. Let's talk about it. My girl. We need the representation. There are barely any Asian people on this cast. I believe there's one. And I just feel like Karishma was good TV. She played hard. She had an incredible idol play. She gave us emotion. She cried. We laughed with her. We cried with her. Karishma's a great character. Deserves a second chance.
Does she want to go back?
Man, yes. Karishma's a gamer.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am. She's a gamer. Every time I look up, she playing some online version of Survivor and stuff like that. Karishma got off the couch once. She'll get off the couch again.
I mean, she just had a baby in, I think, the beginning of November, end of October.
So that baby about grown now. It's been like, what, 8 months? It can talk, it can make sounds, and she can go. Look, Survivor is 26 days, Rob.
Yes.
26.
Right.
She'll be back. The baby won't even know. Oh, God. Also, on Survivor Fact Checkers list, Janet Carbon. People at the time were like, Janet's game really took a hit based on someone else's actions. For her standing up for what was right, she really kind of got punished for that. And so for that, I'm pretty sure that's why people are saying that they would like to see Janet
and
back.
She really wanted to go back.
Yeah, I wonder if she got a call. Personally, I would rather have Karishma. But at the same time, like, I understand why you would have Janet. I do. So it makes sense. And like Penner was saying, what y'all got against the older people? Janet can hold it down at her age. What y'all doing? She's not that old. Stop playing her. Stop playing her face.
Yeah.
Okay.
She can do it.
So let's go back, since we're talking about old people. Rob, I want to talk about somebody who you would have liked to see on Survivor. Survivor Fact Checker echoes this as well. The people voted, and they said, where is Greg Buis from Survivor Borneo? Rob, do you think they really looked at all the seasons and said, Borneo, did they call Greg? What are you thinking?
I suspect that they called him, but Greg has always been, sort of a interesting, quirky guy. I feel like that maybe playing Survivor in the new era is not a big priority for Greg. Greg doesn't really even like old Survivor.
I would not bank on him being a hard game player if that's what Jeff is looking for. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Greg is someone who his story is so interesting because he is somebody who got so much fame out of the first Survivor. He has largely avoided the public eye of the publicity, the money, the fame, he's rejected it, all of it. Why 25 years later, what does he step into that arena unless there is some kind of like handsome appearance fee? And I suspect he doesn't have like incredible financial needs. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if he's like living like van life somewhere or completely off the grid. So what's in it for Greg?
I don't know, but according to Survivor Fact Checker, people were clamoring for the Greg. They heard celebration of
clamor,
50 seasons.
He needs to clamor for something.
Yeah, we can't want it more than he does. But again, we're going back and we're looking at people who should have maybe got a second chance. And I'm talking about the people that Survivor Fact Checker said they voted for, right? And I know who the RHAP people vote for, and those things have now aligned. Rob, we talk about this woman a lot. You talk to her all the time. She goes back and talks to other Survivor players. She's well connected. She's a ray of sunshine. Teresa, T-Bird. Did T-Bird get a call, Rob? Do you know?
She told me she didn't.
What are we doing? We're trying to get these people. This is their last shot. Rob, they never coming back to the pre-50 era. We don't T-Bird to play one more time.
I don't know if they're never coming back to the pre-50 era, but I don't know if they're ever coming back to the pre-20 era.
Are they coming back to the pre-10s? You know what I'm saying? Like, do it.
Yeah.
What we doing? This your last chance. You can come back and get them people. Go get them people. Stop playing in their face. You could have got T-Bird. All I'm saying. A couple other people on this list that Survivor Fact Checker pointed out. Nalia is on this list. Shane Powers is on this list. But I want to talk about somebody who everybody was mad to see was not on the cast. Sean Rector. Yeah. Sean Rector would not fall in our Faces of Survivor list that I talked about earlier. He didn't play 65 days or anything like that. He wasn't on multiple seasons. But if you want to talk about people who were denied a second chance and it's just never quite worked out for them to come back, you can't tell me in 55 you're going to go back and get Sean Rector. So this is essentially his last shot.
Yeah. It's also one of these things that, like Amanda Kimmel, it was just teased that Sean Rector is in the mix. The people they're talking to Sean Rector, and it was out there. And I think they were talking to Sean Rector. I believe that it was true, but for whatever reason, it did not work out.
Yeah, what's that about? I don't like that. Again, we don't get the behind the scenes conversations. So it's still a snub in my eyes. I don't care if Sean Rector said, I don't want to do it. It's still a snub. You shouldn't have told me there was going to be, y'all should have released a press release and said, we've reached out to Sean Rector. He has declined. Because now we're going to be saying, where the hell is Sean Rector? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is tough. I thought Boston Rob made the call. I thought Boston Rob was like,
hey, put Sean on.
Yeah, exactly. You don't think, I thought he had the pull.
Yeah. So, yeah. Unfortunately, like that would have been fun if we would have got him on there. I think that would have been pretty epic.
I skipped over Eric Reichenbach earlier because I don't know if Eric Reichenbach wants to do Survivor again, but don't you think he's like one of the faces? Don't you think he's one of the faces of Survivor? Like his moment gets played more than
I won't be surprised if him giving away the necklace ends up being the #1 moment in the poll that we're going to have coming up, the top 25 moments. I don't know the results. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the #1 moment. So he is iconic for that.
Yeah, and they didn't call him. But from his season.
Would you have wanted to see Eric Reichenbach on 50?
I like Eric.
I think the issue was that he's just sort of like hit the wall on Survivor Camo, but he would be maybe a 26-day game. He'd be fine.
Maybe it'd be faster. He's learned so much more than he did the first time he played. I mean, Eric was really close to winning Survivor the first time he played. He wasn't far from it the second time he played. And so it's like, yeah, let him play for 50. He's a super fan. He kind of is that in that mode of like Survivor 50 is for people like him. So from that same season though, Rob, a person that people have been clamoring for since she flossed with Eric's jugular, Natalie Bolton. People were hoping we would finally get a return of Natalie Bolton for her second go-round, her second chance. Asian American representation, LGBTQ representation, a badass confessional person. somebody people been clamoring for. Rob, they didn't call Natalie.
It sounded like they did, and it sounded like she was in there at the last minute, and I don't know why it didn't happen. I mean, that was somebody where there was like a week where it was like, okay, everybody, bad news, Amanda's out, but I think Natalie is in. And then the last second, it's like, well, actually, Aubrey.
And Aubrey getting called as an alternate to Amanda is okay, like a fine. But like that's why I was like, was Kelly? What was you doing, girl? What, Kelly? And Natalie, you know, like I have questions. And so Natalie Bolton is definitely one I saw. Survivor Fact Checker approves that this is one that the fans wanted to see. Another one that I don't think she was ever going to come back, Taj Johnson George from Tocantins. I don't think that was going to happen.
I don't think Taj wants to play.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
We did talking with T-Bird with her. Like Taj, I think is like, I'm good.
She's surprised Survivor's still on TV. She's like, what? People still doing that? She didn't even know what Survivor was when she got there. She was like, I thought we was going to a hotel and we never got to one. Yeah. But I love Taj. Hayden Moss is on my list of second chances.
Oh, interesting.
You know, well, he's an asterisk. You know, Hayden played hard, but he only got one shot. If there was an all-star season between now and, you know, and then, where was Hayden? So maybe that. I've already mentioned Bryce. Reed Kelly is another one from San Juan del Sur. Jeff hates San Juan del Sur, so he was never going back to go get Reed.
But a lot of people have come back from Survivor San Juan del Sur,
and he hates them. He hates that season. Like he posted Natalie, his list.
Wentworth.
Yeah,
he doesn't like the season. He doesn't like the season.
He doesn't like the season.
Keith Nail.
Yeah, Keith Nail. Okay. Also, I saw a clip today that said, remember when Jeff said Carolyn Rivera was coming back for Survivor? They're like, oh yeah, after Worlds Apart, she will be back. Mama C was voted on by the people, by the fans on the Survivor Fact Checker Instagram account. And yet, no Mama C. She's too old for Survivor. They don't like her no more.
Maybe they just threw out all the Carolyns. They just deleted all the Carolyn files.
Delete. They didn't know which Carolyn it was, so they all went. Shout out to Caroline. She might have got taken out in that as well.
I mean, she was in the second chance voting.
Yeah. And yet, the fans, I guess, I guess it was in our hands, and we dropped the ball on Carolyn this time. Rob, one of my big snubs from Survivor Co. Wrong. The person this is the reason why I was all in on these people coming back for a second chance. Sydney. Where is Sydney?
Yeah, I have no idea if Sydney got contacted or what. I mean, I know that Sydney is a bodybuilder. I know she takes her physique very seriously.
I think she retired.
Was she retired? Yeah, I feel like that. I thought I saw, smoke that she was in the mix, but Redmond is saying that she got cut.
What?
And not like she used to before the competition.
But why did they cut Sydney? You know, like, bro, we're missing the representation. Here are the people. This is why I'm calling them snubs, because they could fit into these categories, Rob. They could make this make sense. It don't make sense.
I don't know. Maybe they felt like, and I have no idea. Has Sydney watched an episode of Survivor since she played?
It don't matter. Colby hasn't. And the game was closer to what Sydney played than it was for Colby. So I don't want to hear that. Redmond saying they called Julia Sokolowski. Y'all just calling everybody. Then y'all should have called Sydney. Hell, y'all should have called other people. Y'all should have called.
Sounds like they did call her.
We've talked about some people they didn't call, and I have questions. So Sydney should have been on there. And again, now we're in it, and we're back in that era where they just kind of like are glazing over these people. They didn't really want to get them. You know, Survivor Fact Checker says Jay Starrett is another one that people wanted to see.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that the clamoring for Jay was much more intense earlier, and then he's played on the challenge so much. I don't know if maybe people are like, okay, now we've seen it, but I'm surprised that he ultimately never plays again. I think that coming out of Millennials versus Gen X, I think that people wanted to see David Wright play again, and we got that. But I think that he was probably a very close number 2.
Yeah. And and maybe people like got their thirst for him quenched because of the challenge. You know, he's in on another show, so they've got to watch him. So maybe, but again, I'm going off of what the Survivor Fact Checker has on here as the people voted. This is the fans, the same hands, okay, from the fans. And so they sound like they would have liked to see him play again, and I would have been cool with that. He played hard. That man played hard.
He was a very exciting player as a younger person. It's been almost 10 years since he played, so it would have been I think interesting to see him as a little bit more of an adult, because he started the game and he was a millennial. Now he's Gen X, so now we'll see what he's like as a Gen Xer.
Yeah, yeah. But that's Survivor Fact Checker's list of second chancers. So what do you think about that? As like, of those people, do you think we could have slotted them in and made a cast for like Survivor 50? If we had a bunch of those people on and said, so Survivor 50 is Survivor Second Chance 2, would you be okay with those people?
Yeah, I think a lot of those people would have been good. I had said way back in the fall that I would be very fine if Survivor 50 ended up being some kind of like, okay, no winners, it's all second chances. These are all people that we are going to bring back, one-time players who we never got to bring back as a celebration of the show. I think that would have been fine as the theme of the show. Ultimately, that's not what they did.
No, we actually went no winners for anybody pre-season 40. And so there are a bunch of winners.
45.
Yeah, yeah. In the old era, none of the winners are there. So Vesepia doesn't get her second chance. Tina Weston doesn't get her second chance. Well, her 15th chance. Listen, I heard Tina got a call. Is that true? Because Tina should have got a call for Winners Award.
I mean, I'm not on top of that. I don't know if they called Tina or not.
Let Tina play. I
do know that they called some other old era winners late in the game.
Yeah, Earl, Todd, where y'all at? You know what I'm saying? Like, we just not gonna go get
I don't know if those were the ones they called.
Damn. Who they call? Who you think? Like, educated guess.
Hard to say.
So Bob Crowley?
I don't think it was Bob.
You don't think it was Fabio?
I doubt they called Fabio.
Doubt is okay. Doubt is strong. Jenna Maraska, what you think?
I would be very surprised if they called Jenna.
See, that's what I'm saying. They played in our face. But yeah, so those are the second chance snubs per the Survivor Fact Checker and the hands of the fans. So all that makes up two separate scenarios. We could have done Faces of the Game season 50. We could have done Second Chances season 50. And I came up with a lot of snubs. Okay. We could have filled this bad boy up, but we're not done because we haven't even talked about the new era.
Yep.
Are you ready? Or do you have anybody that we probably... Is there anybody that we left out?
We've mentioned, I think, everybody.
Did I make a decent case for each of those people, or is it just saying names at some point?
I think that some people, there was a little bit more of a case, and some people were just saying names.
Yeah. Whose name I just said? I just kind of slid like Brian Corden in there, just like, and Brian Corden, people wanted him. I would have liked to see him.
I'm sure there was a couple people that we didn't spend that much time on. But it's fine. You're cooking.
If I wanted to get into my list, I have dreams on this list. Okay, my list is cracked. Okay, my list is like, okay, go get Yao Man, see what he's doing. That's my list. That's why I don't. That's why I'm not posting.
He had a heart attack.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He was
okay. Then let him play. Then let him play. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the new era. So the new era, they have this random ass criteria that we're gonna let winners play. Okay. We're going to let winners play. So now we have to talk about the winner snubs first. I want to start there because you told me winners couldn't play. In my mind, Survivor said winners couldn't play. I don't know where that rumor came from. No winners, whatever. We made it up. I thought we all agreed that there would be no winners playing. You know where I'm going. Where's Marianne? What's going on? Where's Marianne? What's happening? One of the best winners. One of the best winners. I'm talking about entertaining winners. Winners. I'm not saying boring. We all have to stay loyal. A game, okay?
Yeah, I love Marianne. I think that she is so representative of the new era. Like when I think of if I was gonna encapsulate the new era in one person, I think it's Marianne. Like this bright ball of positivity who's a fierce gamer who would cut her best friend. That is Marianne, and it would have been wonderful to see her play again.
Right, and I know she in med school, but it's summertime. She could have took 2 weeks. It's summertime, school out.
She would have.
Yeah, and she would have. Where is Marianne? This would help with our BIPOC thing. Just saying. Since we're talking about winners still, my boy Jam Jam. Rob, Jam Jam is a constellation. This man is personality, and he won Survivor, and he's like a different representation. He's Puerto Rican. What's up? We couldn't get Jam Jam on this season.
They couldn't fit him in.
I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that. You couldn't kick off Joe for Jam. Like, maybe they're not even the same. You couldn't kick off one of the 18 people from season 48 for Jam Jam. I think Kyle could have sat this one out and we could have brought in Jam Jam.
Yeah.
Huh. It doesn't make sense to me, but fine.
Yeah, I do think that in terms of just to swap out Kyle for Jam Jam, that I do feel like that Jam Jam is a much more popular character and, fixture and character in the Survivor universe. Jam Jam has a card in the Survivor trading card game.
You see it? You see the vision? You see it? It's right there. And then also, like, this is an awful spot for Kyle to come in. People are talking about it, but like, he got two of his allies, but also two very public allies, that like everybody knows about, that we just watched them play. Like, I'm thinking, Kyle, you should probably sat this one out for a while until you could just like, come back, and like kind of get the winner funk off you. I think you want to come back with a lower profile. It's been a few years for Jam Jam, and I don't know if Jam Jam is looked at like a big threat. I think he would have come back in a good spot.
Yeah, he's such a social butterfly. I think that he would have really fit in well with whoever they had there with him.
Okay. Now, Jeff Probst hosts a podcast called On Fire with Jeff Probst.
Yes.
On there, we have plenty of the people from this Survivor season 50. They're coming back, right? Yes. We got Charlie. We got D. We got Rick Devens.
Yeah.
Was Rachel busy?
I don't know.
I don't know. What's going on here? Where is Rachel? Rachel couldn't get the call. At least tell me if you were on fire. That's like that's like the nod and a wink that you going, all right, we got you for Survivor 50. She didn't even get a call, Redmond said. She didn't even get a call. Just done us dirty. What are we going to do? What are we doing? 47 was an incredible season. It was so fun. 47 was hilarious. It had a lot of strategy. Again, you get some BIPOC representation in there. You could have called Rachel. I think she counts as a snub. All right. Now, one of the criteria I noticed in the new era is that they ain't picked nobody who was pre-merge. Okay, if you didn't make it to the merge, you weren't called. Because I was definitely.
I think they wanted everybody to have at least played double-digit days that came back for Survivor 50,
and it shows. Because they didn't pick Say. Say played double digits. Rob, where's Say?
Yeah, no, Say would have been, I think, a worthy addition to the cast because I think she would have brought some excitement.
She dominated the confessional count, broke records in the time that she was on Survivor, and it was on 48, which just happened. So I know y'all know it happened. Y'all didn't forget. You couldn't have forgot about Say. These Survivor producers act like they forgot about Say. Right. Why would you act like you forgot about Say? It just happened. It happened yesterday. Let Say play.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing. So there are winners that got snubbed. There are confessional stars that got snubbed. But Rob, they completely snubbed season 41. They said we don't need season 41. What did you think about that when you saw that the new era was represented, but it didn't start in the 41?
I mean, Where's the Survivor 41 was not the first thought that I had when I looked at the cast, but yeah, there's definitely some people from Survivor 41.
So I know a lot of people were looking for Shan. Shan should have been there. Now Survivor can say we don't like Shan, and that's fine. Y'all didn't like Johnny Fairplay, but y'all let him play twice. Y'all let the Hans family do whatever they want on Survivor for decades. I just feel like you could have got Shan back, Shan and Ricard back, Dr. Evie Jagoda. Like what? I feel like Survivor 41, for its flaws, had some characters. Ricard was representing people who had hearing loss. We got the cool thing where they did the cutaway where they they cut the sound out so you could see Ricard like reading their lips. Do you remember that? They were doing cool. The editing and stuff was cool. Ricard and Shan had an anthem. It was called the Shanthem. Who among us has a theme song? Jeff forcing them to sing about chicken and waffles and Shan walking around with her own song.
Yeah. How come, when Shaheen does it, it's cool.
Right. But when Shan does it, it's a problem. It was the Shanthem for a reason. Bring back Shan.
I don't know if she was in the mix.
I don't think she was in the mix. All right. 42. We already talked about Marianne. She's my big snub from 42. But I saw other people talking about like maybe like Lindsay or Mike Turner. But I feel like if you bring back Joe, you don't have to bring back Mike Turner. So maybe bring back Mike Turner and leave Joe off because he just played. And then no one else. That's it.
That's it.
Nope. Nobody else. No one to speak of.
Nobody?
Not 42?
Yeah.
High? No, that's 40. Yeah. High.
That is 42.
Okay. Romeo?
42, yeah.
Okay. No. Oh. No. Tori. Roxroy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of these people just,
some good ones.
Oh my God. I don't know. I think that's, no, Rob, seriously. Where they played in Omer's face, Rob. This man he didn't even have a vote. And he ran with the merge vote. He ran it like it was the Navy. He was winking at the camera, all kinds of stuff. That man was having the time of his life, didn't even have a vote. Omer is representation. Omer is chaotic. Omer is a good Survivor player. What are we doing, man? Y'all looked Omer and said, nah, we good. We want Jonathan. And no Marianne. Snubs. These are called snubs.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. I can't even think of a reason why you wouldn't have Omer. I mean, he has those disgusting chicken legs. But aside from that, he's a Survivor player. This is what you want.
It makes sense to me.
I don't even like this man. And even I gotta pay homage. I had to bend the knee. This man is crazy. Omer is good. He's good. That boy good. I don't know. Omer's great. Omer's incredible. He should have been on this cast. He is one of the most unforgivable snubs. We've talked about a few of them, but this one is going to be a lot. 43. I personally think people don't rate 43 high enough. I think that, like, aside from the ending, I think for the most part, it's pretty. They're playing hard in 43. Like, I think you can make an argument for a bunch of them being snubs, but the biggest snub is Jesse. Jesse, again, we get our representation. We get a hard game player. We got like cool editing segments with Jesse. He stole Dwight's idol, even though that was his island husband, and left him for dead. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
They just really can't make a strong argument for why Jesse isn't on this cast.
I just don't understand it. I don't even know what the explanation is of why he's not there. At the time that we heard Jesse was out, it sounded like, oh, well, they're only going to bring back a couple of people from the new era. And we said,
no.
They brought back 12 people from the new era.
Yeah, but 9 from like last year. You know, that's the problem to me. It's like, yeah, we only bring back a few people from the new era.
Hope that we get an explanation at some point of like, but why not Jesse? Like, well, we felt like, his story was told, or I don't know what they're going to say.
Even if for some reason you could squint and make a point for Jesse not being on this cast, which you cannot, the people who were in that final like 7 or 8 players, they played hard. They really did. I'm talking about like Owen and Cassidy and Cody. Cody had some big moments. Carla had some big moments. It just doesn't, like, it's not adding up. It's like you're telling me you wanted Survivor 50, but you're not telling me you wanted Survivor 50. That's how I'm feeling.
Yep.
Season 44. We talked about Jam Jam already. If you wanted to, obviously one of the big snubs. We talked about how the Caroline file got deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn was a big character. She then went on and became a bigger character on the Traitors. Then they called her. After we were told as if they told us, but it was out there in the streets that if you did another one of these game shows like the Challenge, like the Traitors or whatever, you're taking yourself out the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So she went and did the Traitors, and then she got the call. I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. She's not even supposed to be in the mix.
She's back.
She wasn't supposed to get the call, and then they cut her. Why did y'all call that lady? You should have left her alone.
I don't know.
I personally, again, is she on my Survivor 50 snubs list? No. But if she on the Survivor 50 snubs list, yes. Yes. Like,
what do you mean she's not on your list?
from Survivor 44, I was like a jam guy. I definitely love like Franny. Like she's like in my top 10 characters from there for me personally. But
she's in your top 10 from Survivor 44.
Yeah, it's in my top. She's in of the jury phase. She's like top 5, 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me Franny, give me Heidi. You know, but like for a Survivor, especially after making the big splash that she did on the Traders, like you cannot deny the impact. She'll go do Dondi next year, and it'll be like, man, if you liked her on Dondi, you should go watch Survivor, where she came from. You know, like she could be an ambassador to other shows, and yet here we are, not utilizing this woman's power.
I think she'd be a wonderful addition to Dondi.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna have to wait to see because you know, clearly they're not gonna let her play Survivor. 45. I think Emily Flippin was a good call. Obviously, they picked D, who is my favorite player from 45. Well, one of my favorite players from 45, I'll say. I, you know, personally, bring me Bruce any day that you can get Bruce. If you can get Bruce on the phone, give me Bruce. But Caleb, when the shot in the dark happened, people thought like, oh, this validates these big ass twists that Survivors created. It validates the shot in the dark because we got the moment where it hits, we lose J Maya, and I was sad, but like Caleb saved himself, and it was such a big moment. We were there in person. We watched it happen, Rob. It was together. It was one of the best Survivor moments of my life. And we figured if anybody was going to come back from 45, it's obviously Caleb.
He did seem like him and Emily were sort of like the no-brainer returnees from Survivor 45, but that's not how Survivor saw it.
Yeah. Apparently not. You know, and there were other great people from Survivor that we could have seen coming back. People were talking about Jake O'Kane in the chat. I think Kelly Nalbandian is another one where people were like, oh, well, she'll clearly be back. She was such like a centerpiece in that Survivor cast that when she got cut, people were like, oh, Kelly's coming back. To me, it was never a question whether Kelly was coming back. And now she's not back.
Yep.
Moving on. Survivor 46. I mean, you got too many people for 46. What are we doing? You need
people
Q
already.
And Tiffany. Yep, Q and Tiffany and Charlie. We need all three of them. What are they? David versus Goliath? They think that's what they are. Y'all think y'all giving David versus Goliath? But there were still people who you could have said, okay,
yeah,
like Venus. You know, I thought that old lady Maria. Eva's words, not mine. You know, so there are a couple people. I wouldn't say 46 is snub from anybody because they have too many people anyway.
Okay.
47, yeah, like 46. We should be dropping people from 46. 47. Rachel, we talked about. Genevieve was a huge character. I think if we're not bringing back Asia, I think 47 is fine. I don't think we need anybody else from 47. But there were a lot of big names there too.
Okay.
And then that's it. Those are all the people who could have possibly been snubbed. Nobody else from
Survivor 48?
No, not even the baby. Yeah. No, I'm joking. Baby Andy got snubbed and cut from 47.
You've told us so many people. Like, could you have like 5 or 10 that are in your mind snubs?
Well, it's the thing is like if you bring them in, the cast is still flopped because it's not cohesive. Which is why I landed on so many options. Because again, if I brought in 10 people from the new era, it's still Coach and Coach and Stephanie LaGrossa versus 20 people from the new era. You know, like it does not compute. You have to find a theme for this to make sense, or you have to say, okay, well, here's the thing that we're doing, and we're applying that rule across the board. Obviously, winners were involved in the new era, but weren't involved in the old era. If you tell me winners can be there, then I'm like, boom, that changes my list because now I'm going back and I'm getting Vesepia. Why not? Getting Earl, you know, why not? So no, I can't. I can't just give you a list of 10 people who could go into this spot because they didn't give us anything to work with. They just picked random. They made this shit up.
Yeah. Should they have let the fans vote on the theme?
Instead of lying and saying it was in our hands? Yeah, absolutely. Why would you tell us it was in the hands of the fans if it wasn't in the hands of the fans?
I mean, yeah. What if they like had people vote like in like all through the fall? Like vote not on you. We're not going to let you vote on the players, But vote. You can vote on the theme. Do you want it to be all second chances? Do you want it to be, the returning legends? Do you want it to be, we already did winners at war.
Or all new era.
A couple
even if you told me it was gonna be new era,
old
All-Star.
era versus new era. Yeah,
Rob, if you told me you were never adding the old era again, if you were upfront about it and said the old era is not going to be involved, this is new era All-Stars, I'd be like, bet, cool, it's a new era. Fine. And then we could go in and be like, okay, these are the people who are missing. But you didn't even do that. So You're right. We should have voted on whether it be second chances, whether it be one last rip. I love that. Survivor, one last rip. And then, or like new era all-stars, fans versus favorites, old versus new, something. This is just the things.
Yeah. All right.
So that's my snubs list, Rob. It's a bunch of people.
There you have it.
85,000 people.
All right. Chappell did a ton of research, an extensive snubs list for you here today. Of course, check out the draft that we had going on from last night to see how it all shook out of 21 picks drafted. And then got plenty of else Survivor 50 coverage coming up here on RHAP. We're working on some other fun things, including the top 25 moments of all time. I will join Mike Bloom on Wednesday to count down the top 25 Survivor moments of all time.
That sounds like fun. And like you said, I'm sure Eric Reichenbach is going to be on there somewhere. Yeah. But there's so many moments. That's a 5-part
series, by the way. So we are going to be counting down on this Wednesday, moment 25 to 21. So be on the lookout for that. And then also coming in June, RHAP will have previews of all of these Survivor 50 players that we are working on. A very interesting way that we are going to be doing that. So stay tuned for that later on this month. Chappell, what else is coming up for you?
Robert, just hit me. So
yes,
there's a lot going on for me, but it just hit me. Yeah, we could even do something like people who were twist screwed or swap screwed. We could have did, people who made the final tribal council. They had unlimited resources.
Yep, unlimited time and unlimited resources. Yeah,
they knew 50 was coming 3 seasons ago. They knew 50 was coming. They probably knew 50 was coming when we hit 45. So why is this what we landed on? Why? I don't know. Anyway,
give a letter grade for the cast.
The cast?
Yeah.
The people, okay. The people, A+. They're all great.
They're all playing Survivor. They don't have to worry
A+, they're great.
Yeah.
The cast, better than Game Changers, less than everything else. At least Game Changers tried to lie and say, like, oh, look, Haley Ford, she changed the game. Like, at least they tried. They lied to us. Like, God dang. Now they just like, nah, this is a celebration. So, yeah, somewhere in the Game Changers realm, like.
But put a letter grade on it.
A big old C, as Redmond says in the chat.
I think it's C. I feel like maybe I could, be warmed up to, like, a C+. But, like, maybe it could have been an A. You could have done.
This could be a 3-tribe format where you have like old legends, twist screwed, new era. And that would help. But this is nothing.
Yeah. It's not an F. It's not like a failing grade, but it's just like it's a little bit more mid than any of us thought it was going to be.
Unlimited time and resources. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
All right, but Chappell, what do you have coming up?
Catch me on the Nothing But Netflix podcast. Sasha Joseph and I just finished covering Sneaky Links Dating After Dark. It was a messy game show about people hooking up with their hookups and then trying to decide if they want to take their hookups seriously or find new hookups to go make their main squeeze. So go check that out on Nothing But Netflix and subscribe to the Nothing But Netflix podcast. NothingButPod.com will take you to that so that you can do that. And then over on Recap Kickback, my podcast where I talk about whatever I want to talk about. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. We've been popping a balloon every week. Mari and I talked about She the People on Netflix. And then this week, we're talking about The Flavor of Love. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be a great time. We're going to do it live as well. So you can check that out. Old Flavor of Love. Yeah, we're going to go way back and do a little, I love a good rewind. And so we're going to go way back and talk about it because New York has just been announced that she's going to be on House of Villains. So some people weren't there for the early stages of Tiffany New York Pollard, but I was there. I was outside. I was in the trenches. And so you have to go over and subscribe. recapkickback.com/subscribe or youtube.com/@recapkickback. That's the @ Recap Kickback so that you can catch us when we go live to talk about The Flavor of Love season 1. And We're creeping up on 2,000 subscribers over there on Recap Kickback's YouTube page. Go to youtube.com/@recapkickback and hit that subscribe button. Help us get over 2,000 subscribers and follow us on social media at Recap Kickback on all social media platforms.
Were there any snubs that didn't get mentioned? Let us know in the comments, okay? We love to read what you think here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.